Hello, everyone. Back to the Matt and Dale podcast. We've got our special guest. We've got Jess in from Thrive. So, Jess, can you just explain to everyone who's listening and watching what your role is at Thrive?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name's Jess. I'm a social worker with Thrive, and I do a bit of a combined role at Thrive. So I support both young people and adults kind of in traditional room-based counselling. And then I also do equine-assisted therapy with, again, both young people and adults 1 day a week at the moment.
That's right. And that's why we've got you in here actually today, Jess. So, yeah, really appreciate you coming on today. Just to let our listeners and the Thrive community know about what equine-assisted therapy actually is. So firstly, can you just explain to everyone, what actually is equine-assisted therapy, just so everyone can get an idea about it?
Sure, thanks, Matt. I'll speak about the model that I was trained in, but I'm aware that there's quite a few different models and a few different approaches that are used both in Australia and internationally, and they all can be quite different. So I suppose there's also some models which are equine-assisted learning. So for anyone that's interested, there's, I suppose, been a paper published which specifically looks at the differences between the equine-assisted therapy and the equine-assisted learning model, which will probably take a fair bit of time to explain the difference. But in a nutshell, someone who's offering equine-assisted therapy needs to have like a therapeutic qualification, whether that be like a psychologist, a accredited counsellor, or a social worker accredited with the Australian Association of Social Workers. And it's an approach to therapy that I suppose involves including some, like the invitation of horses to participate in some, the language that the training that I was involved in uses like equine experiments. So it's based off Gestalt therapy, where you do, again, that language around experiments in a session. And it's kind of a real hands-on approach to just exploring feelings, but also being able to observe horses in their, in their natural environment, and inviting horses to participate in some learning experiences, which might be things like, grooming a horse, or maybe leading a horse through an obstacle. It might just be observing interactions between horses and herd dynamics with the support of your therapist.
Beautiful. And what got you into equine-assisted
And Jess,
therapy?
thanks so much for coming on. Just for the audience as well, the Gestalt therapy, could you just explain a little bit more around that and what that is?
Yeah, sure, Dale. So Gestalt therapy is one therapeutic approach. There are lots of different therapeutic approaches that can be used, and that kind of varies between different professionals and what they've trained in, but it is just an approach. I'm certainly not a Gestalt therapy expert, so I won't talk about that in great detail. But the Gestalt therapy approach in equine-assisted therapy. So the model I was trained in is the Equine Psychotherapy Institute, which is in Daylesford, and they've recently renamed. I think now it's called the Animal and Equine-Assisted Psychotherapy Institute. But Gestalt therapy, in the sense that they incorporate into their model, is really about further exploring your identity, understanding, I suppose, the way that we connect with others and how there might be some patterns in that space. It's about understanding, so looking at those patterns and the way that we maybe things that we learn in our childhood, which ways we talk with other people, way we problem solve, way we cope with feelings and emotions. Often they're learnt in childhood, and they aren't always helpful ways of supporting us in adults. So it can be understanding, kind of the creation of some of those patterns, and how now as adults are no longer serving us, and maybe other ways that we can better support ourselves in our relationships.
Wow. It's quite a large coverage, isn't it? And what I liked about that
Yeah.
is that it seems to me that what we're really doing is getting to the uniqueness of us and our clients, and also correspondingly the uniqueness of the actual horse itself, right? And all
Yeah.
their different feelings and that sort of thing, and that
Yeah.
interplay of emotions and observing and in terms of maybe explaining a little bit more of who we are. Was that kind of a theme that would resonate with you in terms of what you found?
Yeah, it is. So horses can, I suppose, support and encourage change in people, and by that, what I mean is, for example, horses are very, very present. And when I say horses, it's obviously a big generalization, but I'm talking about horses that are healthy, that have their needs met, that, have freedom, and they have opportunities for social expression and living in herd environments, so like their specific species needs. And they're a sentient being, in my opinion, and they are very, very present. If you get the opportunity to ever observe a horse, they're very alert to their environment around them. They don't get kind of preoccupied and stuck in their heads like people tend to be.
Yeah.
And they feel their feelings, and they express their feelings. And once they've expressed their feelings, they, continue on with grazing, or with play, or, whatever activity they're involved in. Whereas I think people can sometimes get really stuck, maybe not process the feeling, maybe not explore the feeling. They might shut down, they might avoid the feeling. And so in that sense, horses are really good role models in the way they are in the world. And so, spending time with horses and being able to, experience maybe a different way of being can be a really helpful learning opportunity for people to look at maybe the way they're engaging in the world, and how things could look different.
Amazing. Yeah, great. Matt, did you have something to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I just love how much passion you have and how much heart you have for these horses, Jess. Um, yeah, I'm learning a lot already, and you've only been on here for like 10 minutes, so I really appreciate it. I want to know, what got you into equine-assisted therapy to begin with? Did you hear me then?
Thanks,
Uh,
Matt. I think maybe your internet might be a little bit slow, but you asked what got me into equine-assisted therapy initially. Is that correct?
yes. What got you into
Yep.
equine-assisted therapy? Mm.
So I've loved horses since I was a little kid, really. So that, was always what I wanted for Christmas. And my birthday was a horse. I love being around them. I love, they're awesome creatures. And so I've always loved horses, still do love horses. But it was only 4 years ago that I was able, I suppose, to have the opportunity to spend some more time with horses, and connect with my first horse. And so that was a really lovely learning opportunity for me. And I knew that equine-assisted therapy existed, and that was like, I'd always had an interest in helping people, and I suppose studied to be able to do that role. So it was really lovely for me to be able to, bring the two passions together, and have a different way of supporting people. I think it's great that you have the opportunity to be outside that you can be, present and connected with nature. And that's a really powerful part of doing the equine-assisted therapy, because it is most of the time outdoors, and nature can be really soothing as well. So you kind of get the benefits of, being in the company of horses and also being in nature, which is really lovely.
Well,
And when I came across some of the work from the Equine Psychotherapy Institute, I really loved their model. It was very much based on, of the needs of the horses are being met. And I loved their ethical and moral approach to, to horse keeping and working with horses in this space. And as a social worker, the model was created by another social worker. So it's helpful that, those same ethical obligations, have flowed through into that space.
wow. It sounds like all the stars have kind of aligned for you here. It was like almost meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
Great.
That's
Sorry, Matt, were you going to say something?
I was just saying it's such a beautiful story,
It
It's
is.
yeah.
It is. I had a question, Jess, like, you talked about what the therapy can do. What's been your experience with clients in, utilizing equine therapy in terms of some of the perhaps benefits that you've seen, and witnessed for those particular clients? So are you able to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, thanks, Dale. I'm just thinking of a few stories and which one's probably going to be the most helpful.
Sure.
I work with a lot of young people that are neurodiverse. And so I think being around horses, you really need to be aware of your surroundings. That's what helps you stay safe, is that awareness and that presence. And I think being with horses provide an opportunity to be able to practice some of those skills that might be harder, perhaps in other environments. And so it's really lovely to see maybe some clients who have maybe struggled with kind of talk-based therapy, or need movement for regulation in sessions, that you can really incorporate that into practice. And I love seeing the smiles on people's faces when maybe they do something that they didn't think they could do, or they've had a realization, or they've had a connection. And that's really, really lovely to be able to witness.
So that's amazing. And would you find, like, and I don't know how far, I was thinking around like anxiety, whether that's what would be coming up for me. Does it help with that sort of the anxiety? And, you talked about identity in perhaps giving these clients more insight as to who they are, and kind of in a strengths-based way. Is that kind of some of the themes that happen when you see your clients and some of the results they get?
Yeah, it is very diverse. There is lots of evidence around equine-assisted therapy, but the evidence is still kind of catching up in practice. And there's been a fair bit of that, in the media of late, and some movies, I think, released. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to speak about something that I haven't seen yet, but it looks at supporting veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. But it is a helpful model for clients that do have anxiety and depression. Horses, most people report that they feel really calm when they're around horses. And it's really interesting. I don't know if you've heard of the Heart Math Institute, but they've done some research around that and around, a horse's magnetic field, and that they can kind of match heartbeats with a human, which we naturally find very regulating and soothing. So it's really interesting to see, some of the science, I suppose, catching up with people's lived and felt experiences when they're able to connect with horses in safe ways. So it is really helpful for people that do have anxiety, because often maybe they're experiencing a sense of calm and connection, which might be something that they infrequently experience in their day-to-day life. Yeah, a bit of a break from their busy minds, which is the capacity that can be built over time. And so that's really valuable work to be able to support people in that space.
Great.
So I'm hearing, Jess, it's like humans and horses have the ability to co-regulate where their heartbeats start to sort of beat in sync almost. Is that what I'm hearing? Or
yeah, that's what some of the research from the HeartMath Institute is.
wow.
That's
cool.
They're speaking about.
Wow.
That's powerful. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
If people were to book in, Jess, what would they expect in the first session of an equine-assisted therapy session? What would happen traditionally?
So, yeah, that's okay. Usually, especially if they're a child or a young person, we would need to have a bit of an intake process with their carer or their parent just to understand a little bit about them and what's happening for them. What are some things that might be helpful for them or that they want to work on, so some therapeutic goals. The first session with a client usually involves obviously meeting me, a bit of an introduction about myself, some understanding about what the process looks like. In every session, we do like a bit of a, equine safety guidelines about how we can be safe around horses. We do some grounding exercises just to kind of help bring our bodies into the present moment so that we are available and ready for some of that connection work. And then it might involve an invitation to an equine experiment where we might be, meeting some horses at liberty, maybe doing some grooming activities. We might be maybe working on leading some horses through some obstacle courses, for example. And then there'd be a bit of a reflection with the practitioner around, what was it like for them? What came up for them during a session? Maybe what were they thinking, or what were they feeling, or what were they noticing, maybe about the horse, or maybe about themselves. And then very much those conversations are directed to work on, whatever their therapeutic goals are in that session. For some young people, they might some young people love, meeting some of the horses and doing some of that equine work, but then they like to, do some colouring or some drawing or some games afterwards. So, I've always got, a bit of a toolkit available for some people who might like to do some different activities.
And how do they book in, Jess? If they wanted to see you and, check this out and give it a try, what would they need to do?
So there's some information about equine-assisted therapy on Thrive's website, along with the links to book online, or you could ring or email our administration team who'd be able to help you with that.
Beautiful. And we'll actually put a link to where you can find that on this podcast as well, for people wondering, to make it a bit easier.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. And one random question. If your job had a slogan, what would it be?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if it's a slogan, but maybe just some words that are popping into my mind. Growth and connection. Yeah, supporting growth and connection.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, that's probably a good note to finish on, unless, Dale, you've got any more questions for Jess?
No, not at all. But thanks so much, Jess, for coming on. It's been really insightful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dale.
I feel like I've got just this, I don't know, new sense of appreciation for horses. Like I've always loved them, but I know hearing you talk today about how sentient they are, it makes me want to go out and hug one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful animals.
No, they really are.
Good
All right,
teachers.
thanks, Jess, and we'll see everyone in the next episode.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks,
Take
Dane.
care. Bye.
If you or someone that you know needs immediate support, please see on the screen a list of hotlines you can call. And to book in with a clinician at Thrive, you can phone the reception or book online. And remember, you're never alone.